First off, I want to thank Look Theaters for the advanced screening of The Last Showgirl with the live Q&A with Pamela Anderson and Jamie Lee Curtis. It's always a fun experience at these advanced screenings. But now let's get into it. So The Last Showgirl follows Shelley, played by Pamela Anderson, a Las Vegas showgirl who's been with the show for over 30 years. It's an outdated show that it's about to be closed by the new owners of the hotel to make room for a new, sexier, and younger type of dance circus.
The new casino owners want to put their own stamp on the place, so they brought in the circus. That show's doing really well, so...
Our show is legendary.
It is, but, Razzle Dazzle, it's old. It's the last show of its kind on the strip.
The film follows Shelley through the next few days and the next few shows while she deals with the little denial of what's happening, the fear of what's next in her life, and realizing that she has really nothing to show for the last 30 years of being a showgirl. She doesn't have a 401k, no real skills, no plan for the future, and it's a heartbreaking look at what happens when you feel like you're aging out of your career. She's plagued with nostalgia of the past, where she's treated like a movie star and a show filled with people in a theater. But now, playing for just a few people scattered throughout the theater, she's fighting to hold on to her career and how it makes her feel throughout the whole film, all while trying to restore the relationship with her daughter and hold on to her relationships with her showgirl work family. It's a film about letting go and figuring out how to move on and what's next in life. The Last Showgirl is the return of Pamela Anderson to the big screen in a major way, and what some are calling the Pamaissance, with her books and her performance on Broadway in the show Chicago as Roxy, and now she's starring as Shelley in The Last Showgirl. Anderson is proving that she's more than just a 90s Baywatch character, and that she's smarter and more talented than people actually gave her credit for. The Last Showgirl is directed by Gia Coppola, the granddaughter of Francis Ford Coppola, and obviously the niece of Sofia Coppola. The film stars again Pamela Anderson, Brenda Song, Kiernan Shipka, Dave Bautista, and Jamie Lee Curtis, who all give great performances in this film. Billie Lourd is also in the film, who plays Pamela Anderson's Shelley's daughter. Written by Kate Gerstein, who wrote the Last Showgirl play in college, based on the story of the Jubilee Las Vegas Showgirl show that opened in 1981 and ended its run in 2016 at Bally's Las Vegas, was the longest running production show in Vegas. They were an icon of old Vegas, along with their famous costumes created by Bob Mackie. Gerstein went to one of the last shows before it closed and saw not only how outdated the show was, but how few people were actually coming to the show. She wondered what would happen to these 80 stage performers who have been doing this show for most of their career and wrote this story. The film actually uses the original costumes that Bob Mackie designed for the Jubilee show, not leaving the museum since 2016, giving the film a very authentic feel. The film is also shot in 16mm Kodak film with an Airflex 416 camera, giving the movie a very nostalgic film grain look. It also is shot with a Panasonic anamorphic lens that gives off these beautiful lens flares that complement the look of the film really, really well. Coppola shot this film in 18 days, last January in fact, and they shot this film pretty quick and dirty. They didn't have a video village or playback to check to see if they got the shots they were going for. And you can especially see it in the beginning when there are some shots that are really out of focus. I personally thought it gave the film more character, and you have to kind of overlook that kind of thing when you're running and gunning a film shot on film in 18 days. It's shot mostly, if not all, handheld. Even the close-ups and the shots that hold for a while have a shaky documentary film look to them. It sort of bothered me when I knew they were going for a certain look, but it was kind of thrown off by the handheld shakiness that made the camera tilt ever so slightly, throwing off the composition. It is a beautifully shot film, though. There's a lot of shots of Shelley just walking through parts of Vegas that look really fantastic, and there are quite a few scenes where she does this. She seems lost, but at the same time stuck in the nostalgia that she can't let go of, so it works. And Coppola was also a photography major in college and talks about how she would go around Vegas taking these types of shots. And I think that it brings some of her personality and love of old Vegas to the film from her and her director of photography. The performance by Anderson is absolutely incredible. Shelley is so endearing and sad with this sense of optimism rooted from her denial of her career being over. and it is a stellar performance. There are a lot of similarities between Anderson and her character in real life, which makes Pamela the perfect choice to play Shelley. But Shelley is a very complex character that needs emotional depth to pull this character off in a believable way, and Anderson really delivers. It's a very bold, vulnerable character for Anderson. There is a standout scene where Shelley auditions for the show that's actually replacing her show. And it's really heartbreaking, but also it's a power scene for Anderson.
You have an act prepared?
I do. I'm a dancer.
Music?
Yeah. I gave it to the maestro.
She does an audition to her music choice of Shadows of the Night by Pat Benatar. A little hard to watch, but you really can't turn away because her performance is so good. And Jamie Lee Curtis is also such a standout in this film. She plays Annette, a former showgirl who essentially aged out and became a cocktail waitress. She throws her money away gambling and is convinced that she has no future beyond a cocktail waitress. Curtis is an amazing actress, and the way she plays Annette is full of humor and a lot of sadness. There's a haunting scene of her dancing in the middle of the casino to the song Total Eclipse of the Heart that wasn't in the original script. Curtis came up with the idea when they met a cocktail waitress in the casino who used to be a dancer and danced on that same platform for Curtis and Coppola. Curtis dances while no one really pays attention to her, but the camera, completely improvised by the way. It's a beautiful scene in the film that they got in only one take and kind of on the fly. And it tells her emotional story in this beautiful dance where no one is watching or cares is heartbreaking. And it kind of sums up the premise of the whole entire movie in one scene. Dave Bautista plays Eddie, the stage manager. He's quiet and passive, and I enjoyed his performance. It was very different for him as an actor and an action actor. The score feels like music you might hear in a fairy tale and gives the film a sense of hope and joy when the movie feels kind of heavy. It was a really nice balance in that contrast that made the film work. It didn't overpower you with sadness, I think, because of the score. It could have made the film feel sort of odd, but it works really, really incredibly well in this film. It's interesting that you don't get to see the show that Shelley is in throughout most of the movie. You see the showgirls in the dressing rooms going up and down the stairs, running on to the stage. You don't get to see the show until the very last scene, and it's pretty short. I love this because it signified what the movie was. Kind of behind the scenes in the lives of these performers. You see the relationships between the characters, their issues, their fears, and it helps these stories because you don't see their performance. You don't see them as Vegas stars, but as real people. The film clocks in at around an hour and 29 minutes, so it's sort of short. And even though I appreciate a pretty tight movie, I feel like the relationship between Shelley and her daughter wasn't really finished. That story wasn't done. Shelley's daughter gets upset and storms off and then comes back at the end of the movie without really any explanation or exposition on why she's forgiven her mom all of a sudden. There's also a relationship between Shelley and a younger showgirl played by Kiernan Shipka that was really heartbreaking, but didn't really go anywhere. I wonder if there was a story left on the cutting room floor. I really wanted the story to expand on her character and what she was going through and what was going on with her. And she did really well in this movie. The Last Showgirl is a beautifully shot movie on beautiful 16mm film that deserves an audience. It has an incredible performance by Anderson and Curtis that should not be missed. There are a few flaws that kept the film from being a 5-star movie, but this film caught me by surprise. I love the backstory behind this film and the story of how Anderson became involved in the project. Worth looking up if you're interested. I'm giving The Last Showgirl 4 out of 5 stars. It's worth seeing just for Pamela Anderson and Jamie Lee Curtis's performance. It probably actually won't be at theaters long since it has a digital release in the next month or so. So go out and support your local theaters. Thank you as always for liking and subscribing. It means so much. We appreciate all of you, and I love interacting with you in the comments. Let me know what you thought about this film and the performances in the comments. And as always, don't wait till it streams. Let's go to the theater and see it together.
Places, please. Places, please. This is your place's call for the final performance of the Razzle Dazzle.